All right, everybody, welcome to a new episode for the city. I am your host, Francisco. Today, I'm very excited. I've chased this gentleman down. He has a pulse on what's going on the Giants organization. He runs a personal blog called Big Blue United. He has about 50,000 followers on there already. I'd like to introduce everybody to Ian. How are we doing today, Ian?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So first and foremost, what made you get into blogging about the New York Giants?
Just almost 15 years ago now, I was like many Giants fans. I'd wake up every morning and I would look for every article under the sun about the Giants. I want to know everything, every piece of content. I want to know about the salary cap. I want to know where I can get my tickets, where I can get my merch, everything. And I realized every morning I'm doing this with like 25 different sites, not even kidding. And so I said, you know what? I got to build something that could be the hub for fans to go to and then branch out from there. So I built it, and it's been a lot of fun. And like most fans, like I just can't get enough content. I want to know everything that's happening. Yeah.
So you're very detailed with these blogs that you put up, and the responses and the likes that you get in the comments are insane. We're looking at 2,000-3,000 comments on some of these posts that you put up. How do you get your insight? Like, do you just dig through different sites? Do you have somebody inside the organization? I mean, because somebody knows somebody, because you're so detailed when it comes to this stuff. It's amazing to me. Like, I'm blown away by how much information you put out there.
So early on, I used to work for WFAN in New York, which is the #1 sports radio station in the country. And that was a big point of emphasis for me, because that's where I got to meet Carl Banks, got to meet Paul Dottino, got to meet Lance Meadow, John Schmelk, a variety of guys who work for the organization full time, and get an understanding of what it's all about and get some insight while I worked at that radio station. But separately, I found that getting as much information as you can from all different sources is a good thing. Some you just have to figure out, like, the sources you trust versus you don't. Mm-hmm. And over the years, going to training camp many years with Mike Francesa and others, got to meet a lot of people. And, sometimes here and there, I wouldn't say I have like the greatest of sources per se, but I have a few. And the few that I do have over the years, I trust them with everything I've got. And when they tell me something, I'm going to post it if they give me permission. But there's a few other great blogs out there. And one of the things that I truly believe in is that, there's multiple Giants blogs, and I love seeing Giants content. So I don't view it as like a competition between one versus the other. I embrace that. I promote them just like I promote myself, because I want more content. I want more fans following their content. As long as they're putting out stuff that I think is trustworthy and valuable, because there's a lot of great accounts out there. The guys at Talking Giants, they're great. They break it down. Bobby Skinner does a great job breaking down the O-line, and I think that's extremely valuable. And then there's other guys who break down the salary cap that are great, like Spot Track and Jason OTC on Twitter. There's, you just got to find them and search for them and see what other people are following, and, make an opinion for yourself on it.
It's the fandom. I think it's the fandom all around for Giants. Like I said, we're everywhere. You have a Giants backer bar here in the Carolinas as well. Same thing in Cleveland. You have a Giants backer bar in there when I lived there as well. I mean, we're everywhere. If you're a true fan, they're going to find a way. But I think it's fascinating, right? I think it's fascinating that everybody has something they can bring to the table as a fan when they're breaking things down. Your personal blog is one of those things, which is amazing. And it's one of the reasons why I wanted to get into doing the video podcast for YouTube. And, because I lived in Cleveland for so long, but I grew up a Giants fan. I was like, we can talk about both cities. I can root for both cities, and I tell people all the time, I root for Cleveland as long as they're not playing any of my New York teams. As long as they're not playing my New York, I'm going to root for you. But I think it's fascinating that as fans, we find a way to express how we feel about our team, whether it be positive or negative. And you do it, you find a happy medium, because I've read some of your articles that you put on there, and you've blasted the organization when need be.
Mm-hmm.
But you've also praised the organization. Like this weekend, they're going to retire Eli's jersey. They're going to have the retirement ceremony for his jersey, which is phenomenal. To me, I personally think he's the best quarterback New York has ever had. I think they squandered the last couple of years of his career. But what he did for that organization, goes above anything else I think any other quarterback has done.
I couldn't agree more. And I was young when Phil Simms took the Giants to a couple Super Bowls, and obviously Hostetler in the second one won it for them. But what Eli has brought to this organization, it's not just on the field, it's off the field. He is just, as a human being, there's no one better that you want representing your organization. In New York, we've been fortunate to have the likes of a Derek Jeter, a Henrik Lundqvist, guys like that who are just premier human beings who
Mark Messier,
Adam Graves, Brian Leach. I mean, the list goes on. And what I love about Eli is he looks at his on-field accomplishments and they are just absolutely phenomenal. 2 Super Bowl MVPs. The list goes on, but he cares most about the NFL Man of the Year award. He cares about Tackle Kids Cancer and all the organizations that he supports. That's what he values most about his resume. And I don't think he's lying. Like he is just, that is how he was brought up by his parents in Louisiana. And that's just who he is. And I think as Giants fans, Mike Francesa said it best. You can't appreciate what you have until it's gone. Because, at the end, a lot of people wanted Eli, to retire because they didn't want to see him suffering like he had been with so many losses year over year at the end. But now that he's gone, fans are just like, I wish we had Eli with these weapons, with a better defense, with maybe an improving offensive line. But, at the end of the day, as Antro Roll said beautifully, tomorrow is going to be such a great day, and I can't wait to be there for it. And I don't know if I'm going to sit down the entire game. I just can't wait.
It's exciting. And what frustrates me the most is that people think that Eli's not a Hall of Famer, which is ridiculous because he was top 10 in every statistical category in the NFL because he had a 116 and 116 record. A lot of that wasn't his own fault. A lot of that was the fact that they couldn't supply him a better line. The one year that they could have made another Super Bowl run, Plaxico shot himself in the leg. So there was a lot of contributing factors as to why Eli was. And one of the most hurtful things that I think that I saw, and it still irks me to this day, is when they replaced Eli Manning for those with Geno for those couple games. And that infuriated me. I'm like, it didn't make a difference. You should have just let the guy go in there and finish out the season the way he should have finished out the season. But you know how it is. It's crazy. Yep. He's a Hall of Famer. He has 2.
I agree.
Simple as that. He beat the greatest quarterback we've ever seen twice. And I hate this narrative when they go, oh, well, it's because of his defense. I'm sorry. His defense didn't drive the ball down the field with 2 minutes left in the game to win the game. That was Eli Manning making those throws. So when they say, well, the defense won the defense didn't win the game. The defense kept them in the game. Eli had to go down the field and win the game. So I hate that narrative, especially with these big pundits like Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith that always makes that argument that it was a defense that won those. Those were lucky. They weren't luck. Eli had to move the ball down the field to get those touchdowns.
People like to use that narrative when it makes sense for them, but they don't want to use it for other examples. Like last year when Brady wins the Super Bowl with the Bucs, the reason Brady won the Super Bowl with the Bucs is because the Tampa Bay defense obliterated Patrick Mahomes. But Brady won the Super Bowl. That's on his resume. One way or another, he didn't have to do a game-winning drive because the defense just obliterated Patrick Mahomes. So if they want to use that argument, you could use it any which way you want for all these other different quarterbacks. But, Eli, Tom Brady, they don't play defense. They need the defense to do their job, and they did. And while they did their job, Eli did his. And the thing that I like to use most is when the old big-time players mantra, big-time players make big-time plays in big-time games. And Eli Manning played his best football in the most important time of the year. So when I look at that and I like to compare with Eli and Derek Jeter because their stats explode when they reach the playoffs. And that, to me, sends a message of this guy is different when he's playing in a pressure cooker situation and they step up. So in my mind, I mean, there isn't a single 2-time Super Bowl MVP quarterback that isn't in the Hall of Fame. I think it's a no-brainer. It's a lock. Whether he gets in on the first ballot is a different situation because, that's very difficult. Strahan didn't even get in on the first ballot, which still boggles my mind. So as long as he gets in, it's all that matters.
I think they did Strahan on purpose like this because remember the next year, the Super Bowl was in New York City. So I think they waited till it was in New York City for Strahan to be inducted into the Hall of Fame so he can be celebrated when the Super Bowl was at MetLife Stadium.
I don't know. I mean, there's a story behind it. And I was at Michael Strahan's induction in Canton, and it was amazing. And, obviously Eli was there for that. Coughlin was there for that. And when Eli gets inducted, because I know he will get inducted, whether it's first ballot or not, I'll be there. Like, I am there.
I don't see any reason why he wouldn't, though. Just like I believe, and honestly, I believe Brady's going to be there for that as well. How do you not go to the enshrinement of somebody that beat you not once but twice? Like he beat you twice.
Just remember, Michael Strahan's like arch nemesis per se on the football field was John Runyon on the Eagles on the offensive line. He was at Strahan's induction because there's a respect factor there when you go up against a guy who you're throwing down with for a decade. And I think Eli and Brady have that mutual respect. They're also friends. And Peyton, add another, ripple to that as, Brady was at Peyton's induction. So I think all of them will be at all of their inductions. I think there's a respect factor there. Even though Brady never had a chance to beat Eli. So that's the one thing we'll always have over him, and it's great.
So tell me how great it's been, Eli and Peyton on Monday Night Football. That's got to be the best thing ever, man.
I don't know why they would ever go back and anyone would watch anything different. Sean Marash, who's awesome at WFAN and CBS Radio or Odyssey now. He made a point to me because I don't know why I would want to watch anything else. I don't want to hear commentators talk about the game. I want to watch Eli and Peyton do their thing.
Yeah.
And we were talking about a little back and forth about when the Giants go play versus the Chiefs and when the Giants play Brady and the Bucks. Like, I would love to see how Eli engages with Peyton during that type of game because Eli's going to be nervous because he's not just a former Giant player. He's a diehard Giants fan.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
He has rooting interest there. So I'm curious how that's going to play out, and I'm excited to watch that unfold. But I think they were built for this. I think it's phenomenal. I love that they bring guests on board. I can't wait to see who's coming on board next. I hope they bring Archie and others. I hope they bring Cooper into it. But it has just been so much fun to watch. And I'm not a big Monday Night Football guy.
Neither am I.
Like if the Giants aren't on Monday night or Thursday night, I usually don't tune in because like Sunday's my day. And then everything else, like it's all family. But now that Eli and Peyton are doing their thing, I tune in for that. I don't even care about the game. I want to hear what they have to say.
So speaking of Thursday, when I tell you I was in such a bad state after that game. When I tell you it frustrated the life out of me. For a team who's supposed to be under a Belichick disciple, that team was so undisciplined in that game. You can't lose the game on that play. You just can't. You're never going to touch the ball. So why you should be a statue until they hike that. Why would you move? That's my question. Like, it infuriated me. They lost the game. Washington lost that game, and we gave them the W after that. What were your takeaways and your thoughts from that game? Because I was livid. I was livid.
So the tweet I had right after that, after the game ended, was simply, I'm defeated. Like, my soul was defeated by that game. And you know what? I don't really put the blame on Dexter Lawrence. I really don't. He was trying to make a play, and you know what? It just happened the way it unfolded. And the game wasn't technically, they would have won if he didn't, go offsides. But at the end of the day, it should have never been that close to begin with.
Oh, yeah.
Slayton should have caught the ball. The ref shouldn't have called a holding penalty on CJ Board. Daniel Jones played lights out, and he deserved better. And I know a lot of fans, and I'm included, give Jason Garrett a lot of crap because he deserves it. But the Giants should have had 40 points on Thursday night.
Easily.
They should have. If Slayton caught that ball and that wasn't a holding penalty, it would have been 40 points they would have put up. And so I don't put a lot of like the last drive of the game when they were really playing to lose, running 2 straight up the guts and then throwing the ball to Shepard, which if he even caught the ball, wouldn't have been a first down. Like that, you're playing to lose. So that 3-down set, I was just furious over with Garrett. But the rest of the game, you know what, I'm not putting that on Garrett. I've been more upset than anyone with Patrick Graham this season because I don't see the same Patrick Graham game plan that I did last year that worked. And it just worked over and over and over, game in and game out. And I can't imagine it's all on the loss of Dalvin Tomlinson, which I do believe is a huge loss. And I don't think people realize just how important he was to Leonard Williams and the success that he had, because you had to put 2 people on Dalvin up the middle. And because he's a force, he's a legit force. And Leonard Williams has basically been invisible for the most part over 2 games. And when you're making that much money and you're a top 5 paid defensive pass rusher or defensive end in the NFL, you need to be a force game in, game out. You just have to disrupt. It doesn't have to be on the sack side. You just have to get pressures on the quarterback. You have to get stops in the backfield against the rush. But that part has been bothering me more than anything else. Like a lot of people are still questioning the Daniel Jones thing. Just, you know, whether he has it or not, I think he has it. And it's just that one piece of the puzzle with the fumbles that, you know, he has to fix. Don't get me wrong. It's same with Evan Ingram and drops. But I think Daniel Jones has it if they put him in the right system. And you saw last game when you let him use his legs with RPOs, letting him get out of the pocket, he could be dangerous. And we haven't seen a fully healthy Saquon yet. We haven't seen what the offensive line really could be. And now Evan Ingram's going to be back in theory tomorrow. It looks like he's going to be back. So we'll see.
So my biggest thing, in my previous show, we talked about how when they go against Atlanta, it's at home. But my thing is, if Saquon goes over 100 yards, game's over for me. I think if he produces over 100 yards, that means the ground game is clicking. They're opening up the offense. Daniel Jones is going to be chucking the ball downfield because they're not going to, they're going to be afraid of the run. If Saquon doesn't show up, I'm gonna be honest with you, and I picked it, and I'm a realistic Giants fan. If the Giants don't get their run game together, Matt Ryan's gonna eat them alive in that game tomorrow. That defense needs to step up. That defense, because and I discussed the first half. If you notice the first 2 games, the first half of the game, the Giants defense has been on point. They kept the score low. They're not giving up much. It's the second half where they've got to be on the field more times out of anything else. The defense is going to tire out, and that's what it showed. The defense tired out in the second half, and both teams were able to put up points. You can't get beat by guys like Bridgewater. You can't do it, especially when you have that type of talent on that team. Now, let me ask you a question. What do you think they're going to do about Toney? I mean, they're not even – you have somebody with that type of speed on your squad, and you're not even giving them the opportunity to touch the field.
Yep, I was on IG Live last Saturday, a week ago after that game, and you put him on the field for 16 snaps, and it's as if he's invisible. You don't even know he's there, and you know what? It's only 2 games, so I'm not going to go crazy yet. But you drafted him because he's a playmaker. He's a weapon when he has the ball and he has space. So you have to use him that way. Put him over the middle. Put him in the backfield. Run him in motion, put him in the slot, put him outside. I don't care if you take Saquon out and put him in the backfield. You got to put Toney in situations where you could use him as a weapon. And that starts by getting him at special teams. As I love Jabril Peppers, but Toney should be the punt returner full time. You got to get that guy the ball, his hands in that on special teams, because he's dynamic, and we just haven't had a chance to see it yet because they're not letting him. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's something going on in practice that we just are not seeing behind the scenes, but they have to find ways to get him the ball. And they should just simply watch how the Chiefs are using Tyreek Hill, because he's all over the field. You're not putting him in one spot and just leaving him there. So I think they have to find a way to get him the ball. And it doesn't have to be, 10 targets a game. It might only be 5 or 6, but get him the ball. And I think it just has to start this weekend because I think, if I'm not mistaken, the Falcons are without their top cornerback. So Galladay, this should be his breakout game, and they're going to probably have to double him at some point throughout the game, and that's going to open it up for guys like Toney and Shep and others. So I want to see Toney start to get implemented in this offense once and for all.
I thought Galladay was on the injury report this week.
I mean, he's on the injury report, but it looks like he's a go. I think it's, to me, this is kind of like the Plaxico situation when he was, missing a lot of practice and then just playing on Sunday. I think they're trying to be extra safe when it comes to Galladay because of his offseason injury or in the training camp. They don't want to take any chances. They want to make sure that he's rested for game day. But it's time to get him featured. That's for sure.
So with Toney, what people don't realize, what's special about Toney is his yards after catch. This is what the Giants, I think, need to utilize, is his ability to gain chunks of yardage after he catches the ball. So even if it's a 5-yard pop, he can turn that 5 yards into 30 yards easily just by juking and moving down the field. Like you said, I think they're underutilizing the guy. I don't care if he's a rookie or not. You need to find a way to get him on the field and show what he can do. Now, Daniel Jones played one of the best, cleanest games so far, especially with that O-line that they have. He didn't have to run for his life. He felt comfortable. He was able to throw the ball the way he wanted to throw the ball. I mean, that Slayton play, that was the most open play I've ever seen in my entire life. And him dropping, and here's the funny part. My wife was next to me when I said it. I said, if they don't score a touchdown on this play after he dropped that ball, game's over. Because remember, you can't score field goals and then the other team scoring touchdowns and win the game. It just doesn't add up.
Yep. Couldn't agree more. I felt the same way. When the ball is in your hands, you got to find a way to catch the ball. It's just that simple. And, we've seen enough spectacular plays from Odell over the years and all these other receivers out there that are catching it one-handed without any problems now, because these gloves are just like super glue at this point. But, when you have your hand, and it's not like it was fingertips. He had a lot of his hand on that ball. So that really that got to me. And at your point with Toney, him in space is what makes him so dynamic. It's no different than Saquon. And that's been frustrating me because you saw Saquon get one run where he broke it. And after that, it's just right into the middle, right up the gut, no hole, nothing. And I still think he's getting his legs under him, but they have to put him in situations where he can explode and take it out, start in and take it out, and he's off to the races. And, right now, Giants, Shep is playing phenomenal. Like, you just can't speak highly enough of Shep, but one of his best attributes is in run blocking. He just has a knack. When someone has the ball and they're out in the open, he, gets his man. And I love what I've seen from him. And Kyle Rudolph, same thing. He's phenomenal in run protection. So I want to see more plays run to the side that both of those guys are on, because I think that's a better shot to bust it out. But I want to see something this weekend. I want to see Saquon get 100. As you said, if Saquon gets 100, I'll feel comfortable.
Yeah,
but if Daniel Jones plays like he did last week and they lose again, I don't know how this team can win moving forward. If he has a perfect type of performance like he did, as best as you could expect from Daniel Jones, and they lose back to back like that, I don't know how to have faith in a team like this moving forward this season.
I do, and I already said it earlier. It's Saquon. If they can get that ground game going, we already know what Daniel Jones can do. We know he can throw the ball. If he has a clean game, which that he doesn't, he goes from Danny Dimes to Danny Fumbles, that's a big problem. But if he can hold on to the ball, he doesn't make careless throws, he doesn't fumble the ball, and they get that ground. To me, the most important thing for Daniel Jones to shine is that ground game has to pick up. 41 yards burst from Saquon, and then he just disappeared the rest of the game. Which you can't do. You cannot. I got excited. I'm like, yes, this is the game. He's back from his injury. Nope. 41 yards, biggest run of the game. Everything else got shut down after that. If he can even 100 yards from scrimmage, I don't care where he gets the yards from. If he can get over 100 yards, that the Giants offense is going to start to click. You got too many weapons for this team not to put up 30, 40 points per game, period.
Agreed. Agreed. And I think the Giants are going to have to lean on a guy that, you know, a lot of people still have questions about, and that's Andrew Thomas. Without Gates, without Lemieux, Hernandez has not played well so far. Soldier has not played well so far. And we got backups at center and left guard. And I think the team is going to have to rely on someone that has a lot of question marks, but I do believe Andrew Thomas has the ability to take it to another level. And I've, you know, not much has been said about him. His PFF ranking is just slightly below average, whatever, you know, for whatever that's worth. But I've seen growth from him. He had like that one terrible play where Chase Young went right by him. And he was fortunate because Chase Young had the 15-yard roughing the passer penalty, which was not a penalty. But Giants got bailed out. But I do believe you have to rely on that left tackle. You have to rely on Andrew Thomas's growth, and you run right behind him. He has to be the anchor of this line right now. Without Gates, who was the heart and soul of this line, you have to now rely on this guy to take it to another level. And I agree. You have to establish the run because the best weapon for Daniel Jones is Saquon when he's on.
So tomorrow, predictions for tomorrow. What do you have? See, I have the Giants losing this game 21-24 on a field goal again. I think they'll keep it close in the first half, but if the defense has to be on the field, man, too long, I'm just being, like I said, I'm a realistic Giants fan. If Daniel, like I said, my dark horse is if Saquon can get over 100 yards, Giants win this game easily. But if they cannot establish the run in this game and Danny has to throw the ball 50 times down the field, they're going to lose this game. So I have it 21-24.
So I don't know why, but I expected the Giants to lose last week, as much as I didn't want them to. Mm-hmm. This week there's something going with me. I don't know if it's the Eli Manning day or not. I just happen to think this is a game where the Giants put a beat down on the Falcons. I think this week, I don't know if it's going to spur anything into future weeks as we head to Dallas thereafter, but I think this week we might see like a 28-10 type of Giant beatdown. And I think it's not just going to come from Saquon, who I do believe will get 100 yards and a touchdown tomorrow, but I think we're going to see a couple touchdowns from Daniel Jones. I think he's going to rush again for another like 40, 50 yards, and they're going to have the ball control, the time of possession in their favor for the first time in what feels like 2 years.
Yeah.
But the other thing is I think the defense is going to come alive, and I think the defense is going to score tomorrow. I think with, the Ridley's still a dynamic weapon, and Bradbury has been suffering except for that massive, massive pick at the end of last game. And no one should discount that pick enough because he was terrible prior to that pick. But that pick was massive and it should have been a game clincher.
Yeah, oh yeah.
That's the type that had like Seahorn-esque game-ending touchdown or ceiling turnover that should have ended the game. But I think the defense tomorrow is going to come to play, and I think we're going to see Leonard Williams get a couple sacks tomorrow. I think we're going to see the defense pick off Ryan maybe a couple times and take one back to the house. So I don't know why I feel this confident, but I do. I don't want to be disappointed. I don't want to be disappointed on Eli Manning Day because I'm so jacked up for him.
Yeah.
We've disappointed him enough over the last few years. Like, it's time to give him another performance that he deserves on his day where he gets his number up into MetLife.
So before we jump off here, and like I said, I really appreciate you coming on. It's been a pleasure having you on, man. Just the knowledge you have as a Giants fan. So moving forward, since I don't know when we'll have you back on, what is your prediction for the year? What do you think the Giants end record-wise this year?
Whew.
Realistically now. Head over heart.
At the beginning of the season, I thought this was a one game above 500 or one game below 500 team. I didn't know which way it was going to fall. And right now, I truly believe the season comes down to this Sunday, where I think if they lose, everything could come off the rails. And I think the fan base is just going to annihilate the front office, Mara, and everything thereafter. But if they win this Sunday, I think it could spur a lot of potential thereafter. So I still think we're going to be somewhere one game above or one game below 500. But right now I'd probably lean towards 8 wins.
8 wins. That's what I had it at.
I think it's going to be 8 and 9.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be 8 and 9. And I think as of now, if that record holds, I do believe Gettleman should be fired. I think he needs a winning season to at this point. Like, it's enough under 500 records, for his start of his tenure with the Giants. But I want to believe. I want him to show me something to believe, because they have the talent. It's simply about putting it all together. They really do. And the offensive line still is a big question mark. They don't have a tier 1 pass rusher. I think Azeez Ojulari has shown you something that he could be, but he's still a rookie. So you just can't expect him to have a sack a game. That's just not how it's going to unfold.
Yeah, it's not realistic.
Exactly. But they have all these weapons. And if they stay healthy, I mean, outside of the 2 offensive linemen they lost for the year, they got Ingram back. The weapons are there for Jones this week. So I want to see it all happen and come together for a 4-touchdown performance this weekend and come out with a W. And again, it doesn't have to be pretty. And I say this every week.
A win's a win.
I don't care if it's ugly. Just get the W.
Win's a win.
Like, Daniel Jones played lights out.
Yeah.
The defense defense didn't show up against a backup 3rd-string quarterback. But if they got the W, I didn't care.
Yeah,
Just get the W.
Win's a win.
Because a win changes the entire mindset for the entire next few days and going into practice the following week, and gives the team that momentum potential to go into that following week and come out with another W and start rolling W's. And they just have to start getting those W's in the standings. And I really hope they do. So
where can people find you? Where are all your social media platforms that people can find you at? Because like I said, I think you're one of the most knowledgeable Giants fans out there. Your passion for the team is equal to mine. Like, you bleed blue like I do when it comes to the Giants. So what are some of the social media sites that people can find you at, where they can follow you?
So it's at Big Blue United on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Those are the 3 channels that I drive everyone to. But last year we launched a podcast called the Big Blue United Podcast, and it's on all social media or all streaming platforms. And there's 3 guys that host that. They're all best friends, and they do a really, really great job. And I highly recommend everyone tuning into that. But for all the latest news and notes, it's at Big Blue United on social media.
So, folks, thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next time.